Hello, beautiful stars. Courtney here with Stars of the Morning Light. And again, we have Dr. Ben here, Ben Goins. Ladies and gentlemen, I have decided that I'm going to have Ben here once a month because he writes newsletters every month. And tonight we're talking about the one that came out in November. It's up. There'll be a link in the description. Read it. It's fascinating. So now we're going to be talking about that, and he will have another one that comes out in December. Sign up to read, guys. The newsletters, mind blowing what this man has in his brain. So thank you, Dr. Ben, for being back.
Thank you very much, Courtney. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I know that we're talking about the November newsletter with iMedu Foundation. It's on Facebook. All the links are below, guys. And this one was about psyllium. I will say, Ben, I love your mind so much, but because I'm not science, this one was like, whoa, like this is a lot. But I
Yeah.
will tell the audience, you even acknowledged that. Like almost every, after every section, you're like, I understand this is a lot. You even wrote those words, and I was like, it is, Ben. So, um, there was so much in there that I had to get you on here again. Um, be- I guess let's just get into it. I didn't even know psyllium was a part of sulfur. I didn't know any of this stuff. Where do you want to start with it?
I guess I'll start with what the motivation for this article was, like why I was writing about selenium. And if you remember the lead article that you interviewed me on, I was really thinking about the periodic table and how most of the elements that are good for humans are like atomic number 34 and below. Okay.
Right.
And the atomic number 34 is selenium. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is like one of the biggest elements, kind of goes up to this, and the things smaller than this are generally nutrients, with a few exceptions. Iodine, silver, and gold, the three things I do, are bigger than selenium and good for you. But with just a few exceptions, it's pretty much number 34 and below are good for, or a lot of the ones 34 and below are good for you. A lot of the ones that are bigger aren't good for you. And so I was like, well, I've never really talked about, okay, what is up with this one that is the biggest one that's
Yeah.
good for you in general. So it kind of came from motivation. It followed after the lead article, thinking about, heavy metal detox. That's what I'm always thinking about. And then also motivation was from some questions that I got after writing. It was actually a previous newsletter I wrote on mercury detox. When I was writing about mercury detox and thinking about iodine, I kept getting questions from naturopathic doctors about selenium. And they're like, okay, well, should you take selenium with iodine? Should you not take selenium with iodine? Should you take selenium before iodine, after iodine? Like they have,
Okay.
and because it turns out that selenium is also involved in mercury detox. And I do talk about that way down deep in the appendix of my mercury detox newsletter, but it was just too much information to even get into that because I was focusing on mercury detox from amalgam fillings, and there's a different topic of mercury detox from eating from fish. When you're getting your iodine from fish, you also get selenium from fish. You also sometimes get mercury from the fish. There's a different pathway for the mercury detox with the methyl mercury. And I didn't really get into that. And I was like, I need to have a whole nother newsletter just to talk about selenium. And I think somewhere in this selenium article, I actually did talk about how selenium is involved in mercury detox. It might have been
You
kind of far
did.
down, but that was really
Yeah, you
important
did.
because it's sort of like a mercury detox article part 2. So sort of a continuation of topics I've talked about in previous ones with the mercury detox, and then questions from the lead detox, and then it's also related to iodine. And the big thing is, I'm an iodine expert, okay, but in order for people to perceive me as an iodine expert, I needed to talk about selenium, and I hadn't done that. And the reason is because selenium is also involved with iodine processing in the thyroid. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Ben, may I say that part to me as a female, I've never given birth, but I will say a very large percentage of my girlfriends that did after giving birth, their thyroid. I know I have women that it completely like busted, which is like what? There,
Yeah.
so many women have thyroid issues that it's almost a constant coming out of my mouth. Well, have you gotten your thyroid checked? So when I started reading that, I was actually fascinated.
Mhm. So that's kind of the motivation of why I care about selenium, because it seemed it was related to all the topics I'm interested in.
Yeah, and I have to say it's kind of interesting that it's number 34 because it does seem to it's like it rides the fence. Because I read in your article, if you take too much, it's not good. And
Yeah.
but if you have just the right amount, oh, it helps everything process.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's that fence. When you said the 34, that's fascinating.
Yeah, and that
Um,
fascinates me too, because I'm trying to figure out what's good for you, what's toxic, and this really is in the middle where that it can be good for you or toxic. And so the first thing I noticed looking into it and how it was discovered, it was believed for the first 100 years that it was known that it was toxic. Okay. And then it's only been in recent times that it's even been known that it's a critical nutrient that's good for you. And now you'll see selenium in all multivitamins. And so that was kind of a big orange flag there. Okay, why did everyone think this was toxic for you? And now all of a sudden it's good for you. It's one of those big about
right.
faces, like this is gonna kill you. This is great for you.
Yeah, this is great for you.
like,
Yeah.
like we need to look at this topic a little more closely. And I was afraid to comment because people were asking me questions about selenium. And I'm like, look, selenium is weird. I need to really take a good close look at this before I'm even going to comment on this. Okay. So that's what
Yeah.
I did. That's why I wrote that article. I've taken a very deep look at it now, and I'm prepared to answer questions on it now. So do you have any questions?
Do
Just
Well, okay, so I do. I have questions, but
okay.
before we even get to my questions, I have a feeling
Mhm.
that some of the answers are going to be around the mitochondria, right?
Mitochondria. Yeah.
Okay. Can you, before I even begin with questions, can you explain what that is? Because I
Yes.
know for a fact it's going to be kind of probably out of your mouth and plugged in there for answers, but people might not know what that is before we start.
Yeah. Let me get that. So, um, in popular culture in Star Wars, you can think of mitochlorians. You know, Yoda. How do the Jedi have their superpowers? They have some like little bacteria in their blood called mitochlorians that connect them to the Force. Okay,
Okay.
that's sort of like the
This is
like if
awesome, by the way.
so that's kind of a nerdy way using popular culture to kind of explain what they are, and they're really not that different from that. Okay, because so we're multicellular. Okay, so we're multicellular, okay? But even our single cells are more complex than a normal bacteria cell, okay? And the difference is called prokaryotes versus eukaryotes, okay? You probably won't know what that is unless you took microbiology or something. But basically, the simpler kind of cells, the prokaryotic cells, which are the bacteria, their DNA is very simple. It's in a circle, okay? Whereas in eukaryotic cells, our DNA is like a lot more complicated. It's in these chromosomes that are
Mhm.
really harder to understand. Okay. So in biochemistry, we can play with bacteria a lot because we understand their circular DNA in a plasma is really easy to play with and modify and stuff. Okay. So there's a big difference between like bacteria life and like I'll call it higher level life, but it's called
Yeah.
prokaryotic cells versus eukaryotic cells. So we're made of eukaryotic cells, which are the more complex ones, and then we're multicellular, so we're even more complex than that. But if you just take a single one of our cells, it's more complicated than a prokaryotic cell. Okay.
Okay.
So what is that difference? So it's the theory is, and I remember this from biology and stuff, but it's called the endosymbiont theory. It appears to be correct that the way that life evolved from the low the like the bacteria type of cells to the eukaryotic cells, from prokaryotic to eukaryotic, is sort of like there was a form of symbiosis that happened where like is like a bacteria lived inside another bacteria
Hmm.
and helped and fed it energy and nutrients to help the other one live. And somehow that worked out to where it became viable to always do that. Okay.
Okay.
So it's like a bacteria living inside another bacteria made a new type of life that is sort of like a double cell. Okay.
Right. Okay.
And so So what that bacteria that lived inside the other cell, what it did was it helped the bigger cell make energy.
Okay.
Okay.
This is fascinating. Okay.
And that is what the mitochondria is inside of our cells. It's like it evolved from bacteria that we're in symbiosis with that helps us make energy.
That
Okay.
helps us make energy.
But
Okay.
but but the way that we can tell that it probably evolved from bacteria is that inside the mitochondria, it has its own DNA, and that DNA is circular, just like a bacteria.
Oh
It's
wow,
called
this is
it's called mitochondrial DNA. And it's passed through the mother, so you can actually use mitochondrial DNA and track families through the mother all the way back the dawn of time. And a lot of papers are out there doing that. It's really fun to look at mitochondrial DNA to try to figure out how people are related and stuff. So yeah, so besides our
okay.
chromosomal DNA, there are these other little things you can. I don't want to call them bacteria, but I want you to understand that it's like they were
How it,
evolved from bacteria.
yes.
They are
Yeah.
membrane enclosed. They seem like they're older. It's like there are bacteria living inside of all our cells, but they're not. I don't want to say that. They're natural. They're supposed to be there. They're called our mitochondria. They're like in symbiosis with our cells, and they feed them energy.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I can wrap my head around it enough
Okay.
to start talking about I can't even talk. I can't even say these things. Word science words. Um
And
because
selenium,
I
yeah,
go ahead, because when I was reading, you kind of kept referring to that, and I'm like, I'm not even sure if I know what that is.
right.
So now we can get into the meat of the matter. Everybody, just everybody pause, kind of wrap your head around even what that is. Which I have to say, that's interesting that it comes from the mother. That and the moon is the feminine. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, and
Okay,
so the element selenium is named after the moon because the Swedish guy who named it named it after the Greek moon goddess Selene. Selene, the Greek moon goddess. Okay, is where the name selenium comes from.
oh,
And that was kind of interesting. It's like, oh, why did we with that? And that's an interesting topic. So um I'll get into like what happened with that. I was like, because that was a big deal because all the elements now, people have such hubris. They name them after their states, they name them after their country, they name them after their lab. They don't usually name them after gods and goddesses anymore. Although back then that was popular to do that. And a lot of the ones I care about, Mercury detox is named after the Roman Greek god Mercury. And this
right.
one is very interesting because it's named after Selene, the moon goddess. So I wrote at the very beginning of the article, I was like, look, if you're going to name an element after the moon, it better be badass.
That's
Okay.
what I'm thinking. So tell us, I
So
mean, because the my audience knows my love for the moon. So now I'm like, okay, so bring it to me. Why do you think he did that? Why don't we just get into what exactly is solili? I can't even say it. Solilium.
selenium, selenium,
Solilium. Yeah, sure.
named after
Yeah,
Selene.
yeah.
Say Selene,
Celine, solilium.
like Celine Dion, but with an S.
Yeah. Um, what is it? Because I also just learned from your article that it's actually in the sulfur family, isn't it?
Yes, it's called a chalcogen. It's in the sulfur family. It goes oxygen, sulfur, selenium. Yeah, it's in the sulfur, and so that was kind of interesting also. So yeah, so from the chemistry side of things, what is it? It is an element. It's element number 34. The best way to understand it after I studying it, it's like sulfur. Now that's problematic for me because I haven't written a newsletter about sulfur yet. So I'm like, damn, I wish I had written a sulfur newsletter first, and then I could say selenium is like sulfur, and then you could go back and read the sulfur newsletter. But I'm doing things backwards.
That's okay. You're
So
doing it as the spirit moves. That's
and
fine.
and even worse than that, smaller than sulfur is oxygen. Okay, all of chemistry in the same family. It's the chalcogen family. It goes oxygen, sulfur, selenium. Okay, and oxygen is god awfully complicated. I have not done a newsletter on oxygen because that is like the most complicated topic ever. So it's like, okay, so what is selenium? It's like sulfur, it's like oxygen. These are two things I haven't talked about that are really hard to talk about. Okay, gee whiz. So and it's like the moon. Why the heck's like the moon? But the angle that I took was, first of all, okay, Selenium is like the moon. If you're going to name an element after the moon, it better be badass. Okay.
Yeah.
Because the element that is also metaphysically the same as the moon is silver.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's the
Yeah.
one I
Yeah.
do. And silver is incredibly badass. Okay. It kills cancer, it's anti-inflammatory, it kills bacteria. It's just amazing. And so I was like, does selenium live up to the moon name or not? And the answer I found was, holy crap, yes, it does.
Okay.
Okay. Selenium is badass. Also, it can also kill cancer. It does all these other cool things. It aids in mercury detox. It does a lot of similar things as the IMED system with iodine, silver, and gold with selenium. Okay. But the difference is it's like you can't like replace my system with selenium, but if you're doing my system, it will be amplified if you take selenium. Okay.
Right.
And if you just do so the big finding, I don't want to confuse people. So I just want people to the big finding with the moon is it is named after the moon. Yes, I confirmed it really is badass to enough to live up to the moon name. Okay.
Right.
So that was a big
Yeah.
finding. Because and I'm
So,
really glad. I didn't want to be disappointed.
right. Okay. So let's get into how it is so powerful. And I do want to tell
Okay.
you guys, oh, I have your box right here. Ladies and gentlemen, beautiful stars, we're doing a little bit of an unpacking. Hold on, Ben. Ben sent me his system. I'm going to start this in January so I can actually kind of document for people. Like, this is what I felt like after the first week. This is what I felt like here, there. I'm not doing it in December because trust me, who knows if I even have a brain in December. That's how that works. But I just opened it up. This is Ben's system, everyone. This is lovely. This is the packet that it comes with, so you can read and learn all about it and know what you're doing. I'm, of course, I get to talk to Ben, and so could you. Free consultations. To set up one will be a link below. But he's got the silver, he's got the iodine, he's got the gold, and my light is kind of shining on him. So, ladies and gentlemen, follow in January definitely because I'm going to be doing this myself, full on, full on. After all the Christmas cookies I've been eating, and I can actually document what's going on with my body, I'm going to let you know how brilliant and wonderful his product is. Um, so, how exciting is that? But you're telling me now, Ben, that I mean, I know how great your product is. We talked about it last time. I know people that have used it. Now I'm going to be able to tell the world. So, thank you. Um,
So here's the missing link. So
there you
my
go.
product, as you know, my product is amazing. You're gonna find out all by itself is amazing. But I've been doing this for like 7, 8 years, maybe almost 9 years now. Okay. And so I'm always looking at ways to do things better.
Yeah.
Can you get better than the IMED do system? No, but you can do something with the IMED do system to make it better, which is to take a good multivitamin to go with it.
Right.
Okay. And I've been doing this, almost a decade now, and I haven't found a good multivitamin I liked, but I have one now, the
Oh,
Power
good.
Source Win-Win. I'm going to send you this later. I'll wait another month. I want you to do my system for a month first, and then I'll send you this. This has
Yeah.
selenium in it in this multivitamin. And so in the article, I was also talking about selenium dose recommendations from this multivitamin, which you've never
Okay.
seen or heard. It doesn't have good marketing, but it has like 50
Have
things
all
in
the
it,
good stuff.
microprint.
That's what
But
matters, guys.
but one
Yeah.
of those 50 things in it is selenium. Okay. And so normally people get selenium if when they also do the IMEDU system, they usually also take a multivitamin. In your multivitamin, there's a little selenium in there. Okay.
Okay.
And then that was the question that people are giving is like, what is the dosing of selenium? So part of that is trying to figure out what's a good multivitamin or not. I have an older newsletter, breast milk and multivitamins where I started doing my due diligence on this multivitamin. And every time I'm talking about an element that is in this multivitamin, and I'm also talking about this multivitamin just to like, because I'm still vetting this. I mean, it's got my full endorsement already, but it
Okay.
takes a while to go through every 50 items and like,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
but it's the best, most bioavailable form. And so in the article, basically I talk about in your multivitamin, there's basically an organic form and an inorganic form of selenium, and you need them both. And I go with these recommendations, which is 250 milligrams selenium, which is higher, like this is like recommending 450% RDA. So 4.5 times higher selenium than the government recommends.
Wow.
Okay. But that's not so high because it's like 12, you have to be over like 1200% to get in the area that where it's kind of where it starts becoming bad for you.
Dangerous.
But people take too low, but there's a kind of a middle range where if people up their selenium a little bit, there's a big health benefit of having more selenium.
Okay, so how so? Like what's the health benefit of it?
So the reason like I say, the reason I'm so interested in selenium is because it's involved with iodine processing in the thyroid. Okay. And I really wanted to get into that deep. And I did. I succeeded in my article. For people who are interested in that, they can do that. There is a enzyme called the deiodinase, the dye enzyme. And I mentioned in my article, I really hate that name. Instead, I call it the live enzyme because
Yeah, right.
that's what it's really doing. It's not killing you. It's actually increasing your life, increasing your energy. And it's involved in thyroid hormone activation from T4 to T3. It's very confusing and complicated because, okay, so have you heard of thyroid hormones?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, all right. Are you aware there's multiple ones? There's the T4 and the T3.
I know there
Okay,
was multiple going on.
okay,
Do I know? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
and
Most people I think do know.
okay,
Once you hit a certain age, they usually check your thyroid,
right.
especially
So
with
the
women. Yeah.
so people are used to getting those checked, and but it turns out so there's a tyrosine amino acid, so biochemistry there, that the body sticks iodines on in the thyroid. Okay.
Oh,
And when it sticks 4 molecules of iodine on it, it's called T4.
okay.
And when there's 3, it's called T3. Now it turns
Okay.
out the body makes T4 and then it puts 4 molecules of iodine on there. And then it takes one off and then there's only 3 on there. Okay.
Okay.
And then it's the one with 3 on it that is like the active form that goes throughout the body and gives you energy. Okay.
Okay.
So that part is kind of weird because you would think that the one with more iodine would be the one that was active, but actually the way it works in the body is it makes both forms, but mostly it makes T4 and then throughout. Okay, so yeah, 90% of the thyroid hormones that come out of your thyroid are T4, which are like energy molecules waiting to be activated, and then in other tissues in the body the selenium containing deiodinase will take one of the iodine away to activate it to T3 to give those cells energy when they want it.
Okay.
Okay, so the big take home message is so a big part of this is trying to understand what the hell is the thyroid actually doing. The part that I understand is it is recycling, it can use and recycle iodine, and the iodine is being used to increase your energy.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay. So
that's kind of the big picture.
let me try to put where my mind is.
Okay,
So first we learned about the different cells. We were talking about like bacteria cells and how ours are different, the mitochondria type of stuff going on. That's really for energy. Then we're now moving into the thyroid. And I get that. I get how there's T4 and T3, and the 4 needs to attach. But then did you say the psyllium comes up and takes 1 to make it 3 for the
yes.
activation to really take part?
Yes,
Okay.
the
So
enzyme
I
that
actually
removes one iodine
understand.
from T4 to T3 contains selenium to do that. Yeah.
Okay, so I actually understand the selenium coming in and do it because there's always got to be something to activate. There's always got to be some kind of catalyst, activation, something. So she's, can I say her? Is she feminine? I don't know. I don't know. If if she's coming in and taking that to then activate this one, I guess I'm curious what is the T3 doing in the meantime? Just hanging out?
You and me both. Okay. So I looked I looked in this very deeply and I'm an iodine expert and I'm telling you it gets into advanced biochemistry because it goes straight to the mitochondria. It's doing something in the mitochondria to increase your energy. Okay. But it
Okay.
does more. It does. So the short answer, it does everything. So that it goes to every cell in the body. It can bind to the surface of the cell. It can be brought inside the cell. It can do stuff inside the cell. Then it can go inside the nucleus of the cell and do stuff. And it can also go in the mitochondria and do stuff. So it can do a lot of things, all the way from like signaling. One thing it definitely does, it signals your energy levels. So it has a feedback with the brain. There's called the and some of that is known with the hypothalamus pituitary axis, where the brain is talking to the thyroid and it's monitoring your energy levels in your body. So part of it is signaling, but part of it is actually doing stuff on the cell, inside the cell nucleus, and in your DNA. Okay. So it's doing really complicated stuff, but the part that I could wrap my head around is that it's going to the mitochondria and it's sending a signal to increase energy.
Wow.
Okay.
So really it's a communicator.
And the big thing is it definitely is a communicator, but it's more than that. I think that I was going to name my article Iodine is Energy. I think that it is actually a type of energy molecule in and of itself. Okay. And that the iodine, and so I view the way that, and this I'm different than everybody else, but the way that I view it is I view thyroid hormones as energy delivery molecules, because I see the iodine on them as also containing energy. Okay?
You know what, Ben, of course, I don't know science. I'm all history and literature. I don't know science. I would agree with that. Just, having conversations with people throughout my life, I would agree with that the thyroid is like an energy giver. It kind of determines. Yeah, it's the determining factor, maybe. I'm gonna roll with it. I agree. Sure.
And the part of that I was able to wrap my head around and get some papers to confirm was that iodine is definitely one of the things it's doing by the iodine in the T3 hormones, which remember was activated by selenium. So I was talking about selenium and now I'm talking about iodine, but I'm always thinking about iodine.
I know.
So
That's fine.
the selenium was activating these thyroid hormones, delivering the iodine, delivering energy. One of the ways it does is it gives a signal for the cells to make more mitochondria, and more mitochondria equals more energy also. Okay. So that was a connection between iodine and the mitochondria, where more iodine, when your thyroid's working, when you have enough iodine, when you have enough selenium to activate all that, it results in more mitochondria and more energy.
This is truly alchemy here, folks, because if after everything that's being said, if the end goal, the end mark of all of these elements coming together, working together, is more energy, that right there is alchemy. I mean, for who I am and what this channel is, we talk all the time about how everything is energy, that all is energy. So if you're telling me when all of this starts coming together and they're communicating and activating, the end result is more energy, then I can't even imagine. I just can't even imagine. So Ben, wait a minute. Then I actually have a question though, because in the last video, I talked about you and your partner's energy level, how extreme it is compared to us regular folks walking around. It's got to be due to this stuff.
It is definitely. I take my iodine every day, and I have more energy. And I'm telling you, when you start using my product, you're going to notice more energy too.
That's why I want to have the opportunity to actually document for you and really be like, wow, yeah, by day 4, I cleaned the whole house, guys. Um, well, that's fabulous, because if we can also tap into our own energy, that's like tapping into our own power.
Yes.
So much of our energy gets dormant or damaged.
And so I want to try to explain to you. I think you'll be able to get this.
Okay.
So mainly what is known about the mitochondria and what is known about energy in the body is called respiration. There's 2 different types. One is when you're breathing, you're taking oxygen into your lungs, doing stuff. But there's a different kind of respiration called cellular respiration, where your cells breathe. They don't have lungs, but they still make energy and they breathe. And it's still, just like the lungs uses oxygen, the cellular respiration also uses oxygen. Okay. So oxygen is really important for energy also. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Are you with me?
Yeah, I'm with you.
You
Because I did
breathing?
read this. I did
Yeah.
read this in the article, and that's kind of where you started
Okay.
losing me.
So
So,
this is what I really want to get. So normally with energy, we're thinking about oxygen and we're thinking about breathing, you know,
mm-hmm.
but there is a different kind of breathing that your cells do called cellular respiration. And it is done at what we talked about at the mitochondria. It is the mitochondria that do that cellular respiration to make the energy. Okay. So as I'm talking to you now, you can think of the mitochondria as like your cell's lung. That would be a really easy analogy to think of. Like multicellular, we have lungs for energy, but each our little tiny cells have their own lungs, which is like the mitochondria making energy. Okay. Does that kind of make sense?
Oh, Ben, you're blowing me away. You have no idea where
Okay.
my mind is going right now. Like,
All right. I want
wow.
you to get this
Yes,
because
it makes
there's
sense.
something
It's just now Courtney's rabbit hole went, whoa.
because I want to tell you something really cool, but I gotta get you there.
Yeah. Keep going. Keep going.
Okay. So with me, so kind of like what is the
Yeah.
mitochondria? Let's just think of it for the people who aren't scientists. It's like every cell in your body has its own lungs for cellular respiration, and it's the mitochondria. Okay. And just like our normal lungs, the mitochondria also needs oxygen. Okay.
Right.
And here's where this comes important is because for two reasons. Sulfur and selenium are in the oxygen family, is one reason. Okay, so that's where it relates to selenium, thinking about. And also, iodine chemically can act like oxygen.
Whoa.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Okay, so so
Okay.
iodine is not in the same family as oxygen, sulfur, and selenium, but in the body, it is somehow used like an alternative oxygen.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so
Okay.
that's why both iodine and selenium are they seem to be converging at the mitochondria and at this energy making pathway. Okay, that's really complicated. I talked about it a little bit in the article. Probably, unless you're a biochemist, probably have no idea what I'm talking about. But there is some stuff known in biochemistry about how the mitochondria works. It's called the electron transport chain. Looking at it deeply, what it does is it amplifies energy. It takes a little bit of energy and it turns it into more energy. Okay.
Well, if it's like a lung for
Yeah.
each cell, that's how that exactly
Yeah.
would work.
Good.
And
So
when
that makes sense.
we get our vibes up as a person, as a human, we get our vibes up with breath work.
Yeah.
Oh, my brain now. This is why we interview Ben, everybody. Dr. Ben Goins with iMedu Foundation. All the links are below. Because now, of course, Ben, with me, I'm putting in the spiritual component into all of what I just heard. I'm just in love right now. I'm so like my day, you have now changed my entire day. It's been raining for days and the sun hasn't been shining. And I'm like, where's the sun? Like now this is sun, this is light, this is beautiful, this is energy, this is air, this is breath. I love it. I'm gonna actually have to sit with everything you just said for a while. Like that's and the fact that iodine can so it kind of sounds like iodine is able to like just do what you need. Like the variations of what I've heard as we have talked through the years and interviews, the more I am learning about iodine from you, it's like, whoa, I, I don't know why this was such a secret. Well, we all know why it was a secret, but I mean, that's fascinating. It's like it's just going to serve you the way you need to be served.
Yes, you're gonna love my next month's newsletter. I just can't wait. I'm not gonna tell you, but you're just gonna love it. And one other comment I want to make is that colloidal gold you have is like liquid
Yeah.
sunshine also. So
Oh,
like when you're not getting enough sun, taking that gold is really gonna help.
yeah.
And I have an older newsletter where I talk about how colloidal
Okay.
gold is used in the vitamin D pathway. And basically, there's actually two activations of vitamin D. One is the sunshine activates it. Then there's a secondary activation of vitamin D in the kidney that gets blocked by stuff, by fluoride and other things. And colloidal gold works in that pathway somewhere where it is unblocking the vitamin D pathway. People get low in vitamin D when they're not getting enough sunlight.
Yeah.
But some people are taking their vitamin D and they're still not getting the effect of it, and it's because there's a secondary activation in the kidney. Okay, and so I get into that in a different newsletter. I don't go there. I just want to, on this
That's fine.
energy topic, that gold is like liquid sunshine, and like silver is like liquid moon, and selenium is like an alternative moon, and iodine is like an alternative oxygen in this energy
Yeah, yeah.
pathway. So that's kind of all a lot, I know, because to talk about selenium, I had to really think about all these different things that I've been talking about for a long time. So in that mitochondrial, so anyway, I hope you can just kind of understand where we're at now, and then just kind of table your understanding. And I want to try to tell you more just for the other people listening.
Go ahead.
Don't
Yeah.
get it, it's okay. But like, I want to talk about the mitochondria a little bit more. It's really important.
Yeah.
Normally you wouldn't learn about it unless you learn biochemistry or advanced biochemistry, but I did
Yeah,
those
go
things.
for it.
And I just
Go
want to
for it.
mention a few things about it that I learned that maybe some of the audience who may have that background might find interesting. But in that electron transport chain in the mitochondria, I was trying to look at how it worked. Okay. And it's a big deal. When I was in college taking chemistry at Texas A&M, my chemistry professor was actually studying the mitochondria. And he was actually asking me questions about the mitochondria, which I didn't know the answer to. I ended up not going that research, but now coming back like full circle, like 20 years later, I'm like, oh my gosh, that guy was on the right track because he was
Mhm.
asking questions about the mitochondria. And shoot, I should be asking more questions about the mitochondria. How does this work? How is it
Mhm.
making more energy? But what is known is, I want to try to tell you some stuff about electricity. Okay.
Let's do it, Ben.
Okay.
Let's
Okay.
do it.
So, so in science, we normally think of electricity as the flow of electrons. Okay.
Mhm.
But in the body, there is a conversion process to where instead of the flow of negatively charged particles, it turns into more the flow of positively charged particles, protons.
Okay.
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 And it appears to me that the mitochondria is the center of that, where that conversion happens. Okay. So it like reverses the polarity from negative to positive for electricity. Okay. And are you with me
I'm
first?
following. I am following. I'm following. I
Okay.
am.
Okay.
Keep going. Yeah. I might be quiet, but shake my head and keep
Okay.
going.
And so normally when I learned biochemistry, I was taught that the energy molecule in the body is called ATP. Adenosine triphosphate is the energy molecule in the body. Okay. But if you look at the mitochondria, that's not, well, it's true, but it's not the first energy molecule. It's like a souped up energy molecule that had to be processed to store more energy. Okay.
Okay.
So what it appears to happen is there's this thing called the electron transport chain, where there's conversion from electrons to protons. Okay. And what I mean by that is, okay, so there's another energy storage molecule. It's called NADPH or something. NAD plus to NADPH plus. It's really confusing. I honestly, in biochemistry, I didn't have any clue what the hell it was. I knew it was important, but I finally figured out in this article what the heck it is. It's just a proton carrier molecule. Okay.
Okay.
And
Okay.
an H plus. And I told you the switch is from energy from negative electrons to positive protons energy.
Right.
So if you're going to use protons as energy, you have to have a way to carry them around.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
So, right.
Yeah.
So that other energy molecule I didn't used to understand, the NADPH, the only part that's important on it is the H part. It's got a proton on it. It's like carrying a proton around. It is an energy molecule. Okay.
Okay.
And the way the mitochondria works macroscopically is it feeds it one of those. It does this thing with oxygen and electrons to make more protons. So it started with one proton, uses the electron transport chain, and then it makes more protons. And then it takes this bunch of protons, higher amount of protons is like lower pH, okay? And it uses that proton gradient that then goes through this thing called ATPase to then make the ATP energy molecule. So basically it takes one proton, electrons, then makes more protons, and then the protons store the energy in ATP in the phosphate bonds. So ATP is the energy molecule, but it's made ATP, it's made because of protons.
Right.
Okay.
And
But the
it's really
way,
made because, yeah, keep going. Yeah.
but what the mitochondria is doing, it's using electrons to amplify the number of protons.
Right.
Okay. So it'll take one proton, it uses the electron transport chain that uses oxygen and to make more protons. And then the more protons are used to make the ATP, which stores energy. Okay. Are you kind of
Yeah.
with me?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
definitely with you. I'm
So
speechless. Yes, I'm with you, Ben. Yeah.
so the thing about oxygen is it's known the electron transport chain is really complex. It involves iron, it involves copper, these other things I've talked about and are interested in. It does a lot of things, but ultimately at the end of the day, it uses oxygen as the final electron acceptor. Okay. So
Wow.
this electrons go down this chain and they end up on an oxygen. And then your body takes that oxygen and then gets rid of it. So oxygen is required to accept electrons and then get rid of them for the breathing to amplify the energy. Okay, are you
Right.
with me?
Yes. Yes.
So we kind of understand why oxygen is useful. Okay, but uh, so my theory that I really want to talk about this theory because it's kind of hard to understand
Go
is
for it.
I think that iodine is being used as an alternative oxygen, and iodine can also accept electrons. Okay, so there's a different pathway than just using oxygen to accept electrons. You can use iodine to accept electrons. Okay.
Right. But even so, I'm also thinking that even if you have the iodine within you, like you're taking it,
Mhm.
it's flushing out all the stuff and it's making the mitochondria breathe better.
Yeah,
So if it's breathing better, that and with everything you just said, that literally means that that's where the more energy is coming from.
yeah. And it could be breathing better because the body has evolved an alternative pathway to oxygen where it prefers the iodine for their breathing. Was my thought on that. That's kind of hard to prove, but basically, but what I can tell you is that when oxygen takes that final electron, it's used up. You get rid of it. When iodine gets that extra electron, turns into iodide, which is like the unenergized, used up form. And so that's why when people explain, like there's nascent iodine, which is like the energized iodine, and then there's iodide, which is like the unenergized iodine. Okay.
Okay.
And your
Okay.
thyroid can recycle iodine. So it can take it can take iodide, the unenergized iodine, and re-energize it and then use it. But when it gets messed up, it can't do that. And people have to get the nascent iodine, the energized iodine. So my iodine is the energized iodine that can directly be
Okay.
used to energize the body. So there's this idea of, so when you think about it like that, you can also think of iodine like an energy storage battery kind of. It also,
Yeah.
yeah, because it can absorb, it can take in energy, it can deliver energy, it can signal energy, it can.
Now, here's a hypothesis. I don't know, a theory.
Yeah.
I don't know. Or maybe you already know. So if my thyroid can recycle iodine, and I'm
Mhm.
also taking a supplement, like I'm taking your stuff with iodine in it, and
Mhm.
it's helping all of my cells and the mitochondria breathe, but then there's still going to be, not the used iodine.
Yeah, the
The
used iodine. That's how I
Yeah.
think about it. There's used up iodine.
So right. So then it's going to go to my thyroid. Well, then if you bring in the selenium with like a multivitamin or something, that's going to help my thyroid recycle that even probably faster, smoother, better. That's what
Yes, I
my
think so.
theory would be.
Yeah, that's basically true. Yeah.
Yeah. So then you would just end up, you would never have a lack. Let's say that. Like if you start implementing all these different things and you start bringing the multivitamin in as well and take the system, we wouldn't lack. As far as we talked about that in our last video together. that the body actually is never lacking. It's there's stuff they're blocking.
Yeah,
Well,
and
once we
that's
detox
a
it,
really, really important point.
yeah, once we detox it, even the natural process of like, okay, our body used this, now it's going to go to the recycling plant, which I guess is our thyroid, and for
Yeah.
this particular, well, then we're even helping it recycle faster. This is fascinating, Ben.
That's exactly right. And that's why selenium's so important. And then you're bringing me to my next topic, which was the mercury detox. So the main thing that is gunking up people's thyroids, I'm telling you, is those mercury fillings, mercury poison leaking down to their neck. Okay. And because I told you selenium also helps with the mercury detox, of course, it helps your thyroid work better. Okay.
Okay.
Exactly like you said. But the reason it's helping your thyroid work better is because it's also helping detox the thyroid. But the way that detox works also uses, this is kind of a different topic in the paper about the antioxidants, and gets into the sulfur part. Okay.
Yes, I'm curious about
Sulfur
this.
sulfur can bind to sulfur does all this crazy stuff in the body, but it can bind heavy metals and help get them out the body. Sulfur can. Okay.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay. I have to
And
say, Ben, when people hear the word sulfur, we don't think any of this. I shouldn't speak for everyone, but I like people like me that don't know science. When I hear sulfur, it's like, oh yeah, no, no, that's bad. Like you automatically were taught that's bad stuff. Don't go there. But you're telling me that the site. Okay, keep going, Ben. This
so
is
so that's
fascinating.
interesting. The reason people associate bad with sulfur is because sulfur has that bad rotten egg smell and makes your fart stinky.
Right,
Okay, that's sulfur. So people associate sulfur with manifestation and demons and stuff like that because
right.
sulfur is stinky. Okay, but the way your body uses sulfur is there's two amino acids. This is biochemistry, the cysteine and methionine, that have sulfur in them. Okay. And anywhere that there's a sulfur, you can also, I told you selenium is like a sulfur.
Yeah.
Some of the proteins in the body, instead of using sulfur, they'll use selenium instead of sulfur. So you can get this thing called selenocysteine or selenomethionine. Selenomethionine is the organic form of selenium, like in this vitamin.
Okay.
Really important. So your body doesn't just use like raw sulfur, it has to carry the sulfur in a very specific way inside these amino acids, inside cysteine, and it has a very, and so that's really kind of important to understand. Same with selenium. In one form, it can be toxic, but in another form, the body has a way to use it and carry it around. Okay. Um, but both sulfur and selenium are used for detox, and that's why they're important.
Wow.
Okay. Now,
So wait, hold selenium, geez. Um, it's kind of like sulfur and oxygen, so
yeah.
detox and breath. Oh my goodness. No wonder it's badass.
and and not just reason why it's badass, it's also the reason it seems that both iodine, silver, and gold are badass because they're all involved in detox and energy. And a
Mhm.
lot of that, from what I was looking at, is intersecting at the mitochondria. And if you have any kind of toxin screwing up the electron transport chain that amplifies the energy is done in the membrane of the mitochondria.
Right.
And membranes, as you know, they're easy to disrupt. Okay.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
any toxin gets in there can screw it up and make it what's called leak electrons. And so it makes it less efficient. And when the electrons get out of the electron transport chain, they're supposed to do their thing and then bind to oxygen, or my theory, they might bind to iodine or some other pathway. But that's what they're supposed to do. But if they get out where they're not supposed to be, these electrons will cause damage. They'll cause cell damage. They'll start tearing up the membrane. It'll stop working. The mitochondria will die. It'll send signals. And it has to have the signaling pathway to say, hey, there's too much damage here. Kill this mitochondria. This is turning into cancer.
Wow.
Kill it. So
Yeah.
it has an offset. It has to have an off system too, like an energy plant. Like, oh, this reactor went critical, shut it down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
And iodine
Wow.
is also involved. All these are involved. So iodine, silver, and selenium are all involved in this. Okay. Um, So I focus on iodine and silver, but I'm talking about selenium. But as I'm learning about selenium, I'm thinking about iodine and silver. Okay.
Right.
And silver is involved in the braking mechanism to say, this ain't working right, shut it down. Okay.
Mm,
And so, I want to talk about silver for a second.
yeah, go ahead, Ben.
Okay. So let's
Must be
talk,
why I love silver so much.
we're talking about an energy plant. Okay. But something has gone wrong. It's gone critical. The
Yeah,
membrane
yeah,
is like Chernobyl is about to happen.
yeah,
Shut it down. Okay.
yeah.
And so iodine promotes it. So I don't want to say so, and this is the really complicated part. I do want to say so. Silver is like the brakes for the system. Okay.
Okay,
But that doesn't mean that silver makes you have less energy. But
right.
but understanding why doesn't it is a really important question. Why doesn't silver make you have less energy? And for some people it might, but the only ones it shuts down are the dysfunctional ones. Okay.
Okay,
So if something is wrong, the biggest thing that's wrong is if it has turned cancerous. Something's
right.
wrong there. Okay.
Yeah,
But the cool thing is iodine promotes energy in the mitochondria that are working, and iodine promotes the off switch in the ones that are turning cancerous. Okay. So iodine can be an on or an off switch for mitochondria. Silver appears to just be an off switch for mitochondria that are dysfunctioning. But iodine and silver work together to shut down dysfunctional mitochondria that have gone AWOL, creating oxidative damage and turning into cancer. They say no.
wow.
Okay. And
Yeah,
and selenium is involved in there because it's involved with turning the iodine in the T4 to the T3 in storage or not storage. But it's also okay. So that was the organic selenium, but here's the deal. Okay. So
it's okay,
um
Ben.
uh
It's okay. You have
but
so much in your brain. Just
here's the
take it
thing.
slow.
So
Yeah,
I told you there's an organic form of selenium, which is like in the amino acids, but there's like an inorganic form of selenium that evolved in an older pathway. And that is the form of selenium that works with the mitochondria. Because I told you the mitochondria evolved like a long time ago.
right.
So, and so, yeah. So anyway, there's multiple forms of selenium, organic and inorganic. It's actually the inorganic selenium that works at the mitochondria.
Oh, that's fascinating.
What is it
That's
doing
really
there? I couldn't really get into it enough because it got beyond my ability. Okay. All I can tell you is the inorganic form of selenium is doing something in the mitochondria that is similar or helping in the pathway of iodine, silver, and gold in helping the mitochondria to work better when it's supposed to, or to shut it off when it's doing something bad. I remember. So selenium helps maintain the integrity of the mitochondrial membrane for the part of the electron transport chain, I believe is what I remember.
okay.
One of the things that's known. Okay.
Ben, can I ask? So we have organic and we have inorganic. What does that actually mean when you say inorganic? Like, where should our minds think?
So that's
Uh,
like mineral when it's just like the mineral by itself. So like organic in chemistry is like carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. When there's these molecules made of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, these fancy molecules carrying things around is like organic. Inorganic is just like it's just like the selenium by itself, maybe just attached to a couple oxygens or something. So there's like the selenate form. I think it's
okay,
called yeah, sodium selenate is the inorganic form in the multivitamin. Selenate is like selenium just with some oxygen stuck to it. So no
okay,
carbons. So I, as a chemist, I'm
okay,
thinking organic means there's like carbons involved, and inorganic means
okay,
there's not carbons involved. What might be a simple way to
okay,
do it.
okay. No, thank you. Because for, like I said, like people like me, when I hear inorganic, I start thinking like synthetic. That's what well, my brain, I should say. And I know there's some people thinking that too. And I'm like, well, how did we get in, synthetic stuff in us? Um,
Yeah, that's a different meaning in a different field. So
yeah,
that's like organic
exactly.
food versus non-organic food. It's different meaning.
Right.
I was talking about inorganic and organic in form of like organic chemistry or not organic chemistry
Yeah, which is
with
fair.
carbons, without carbons.
I didn't know there was a difference. I never knew that, I don't think.
And that's
Um,
one of the problems. Like I'm an interdisciplinary scientist, and so I'm aware of these language barrier problems in different
yeah,
fields, even talking about the same thing that confuses the heck out of people. The biggest one that I have to deal with is heavy metal versus light metal. That terminology means different things in different fields. And so I try to explain that because people get very confused with the aluminum detox. When I tell people aluminum is light, but it's a heavy metal, it's both light and heavy. You got to get your terminology right.
Yeah, and for us, us just regular old folks out there, thank you for breaking this stuff down. Ben, I do want to ask before, because when you were talking about, it might be apropos, it might not be, the multivitamin thing. I actually want to ask right now. I heard years ago that the majority of the multivitamins that you're going to find on the shelf at your pharmacy, um, actually don't work
I believe
because
that.
they put, because everything, as we just learned today, so much is, it needs a catalyst, it needs a activator, it needs this and that, that they end up putting vitamins in there that actually are contradicting each other and like canceling each other out.
Mhm.
So have you ever heard that before? Because I heard that years ago and I'm
Yeah,
thinking, then what's the point of doing this
yeah,
if it's
exactly.
not? Yeah.
So quick comments is there is a big trend right now that the pharmaceutical companies are because they have all the money, are buying up all these vitamin companies.
Right.
Okay. So probably your average multivitamin you're buying is being made or designed by the pharmaceutical company. And this a different top. What you're probably heard of was the synthetic B vitamins, which is a really interesting topic I'm going to get into in a future newsletter.
Yeah.
But there's a variety of, but it's a big deal in this form. There's basically the same vitamin, but it can have the good form. I don't say the good form and the bad form, but there's a more bioavailable form usually. Okay.
Okay.
And so it's
Okay.
important to put it in the right form. And so focusing on selenium, I looked at that. What is the right form of selenium? And the answer was you need both forms. You need, well, not, you need more than one form of it. There's both an organic form and a not, I don't want to use the
That's
term confuse
okay.
you, but
That's
I'm going to
okay.
use
No, no, we
non-organic
just
form.
cleared it all up. We just cleared it all up. So,
But the cysteine, usually you don't direct, and so in the you would think the big thing I thought was that you would take selenium as selenocysteine, but you don't because the body has this complex pathway. Instead, you feed it the precursor molecule selenomethionine. So, like in this vitamin, it's recommend you get your selenium in the organic form as selenomethionine, and it's half of that, 50%. And the other form is the inorganic form as sodium selenate. Okay.
okay.
But the crazy thing about selenium is you don't do too much sodium selenate because it could literally kill you. People used to use that for suicide. I'm telling you. So that's why for 100 years, selenium was believed to be toxic. But it turns out it's all about dosing and the right form. And the right form is a little bit of the inorganic form, but not too much, and a little bit of the organic form together, and not too much of it, but you have to have enough. And it's literally a bell curve like this. Okay. It's like, it's just a normal bell curve, like not enough. If you don't have enough, it's not good. There's an optimal amount right in the middle that's perfect. And if you start getting too much, then it becomes bad. So selenium, and that's not normal for vitamins because most vitamins, like B vitamins and stuff, it's usually like this, like the more you get, the better, you know?
Right.
But
Right. Yeah.
selenium is like this. Too much is bad. Right in the middle is good. Not enough is not good. Most
Okay.
people with selenium are here and they could benefit from a little bit more. Okay. Very few people have too much selenium. And I also want to comment. So big things in the article, big findings I found was most people are getting some selenium in their diet already. If you're eating, it's mostly in meats and fish. Okay.
Okay.
The people who really have to watch their selenium to make sure they're getting enough are the vegetarians and the vegans who are not eating meat. Okay.
Right.
But even if you are eating meat and if you are taking a selenium multivitamin, a lot of the multivitamins only have 50 micrograms in them. And the recommending that I'm recommending is with this recommendation is about 250 micrograms. So I have an aunt who is taking a multivitamin with 50 micrograms of selenium in it, and then she's taking an extra selenium multivitamin for 200 more. So she's getting
Okay.
250, and she asked me, well, can I get rid of my extra multivitamin, my extra selenium only vitamin with 200 in it? And I said, no, I don't recommend you do, because that's only 250. 250 is what I'm recommending. So you
Yeah.
either need to get a better multivitamin that already has the right amount in it, or it's probably better to take the little bit of extra.
Yeah.
So, but
Wow.
the big finding, well, the big thing from my perspective is, it's really not about the selenium. It's more about the iodine. So everyone's iodine deficient. If you just take the iodine, that's where you get the real big health benefit. But for the people who are already taking my system, they can up their selenium a little bit for a slightly more health benefit. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
And then the other thing was, I had some questions from some naturopathic doctors about using selenium. This is kind of a neat topic, but they were using selenium to pregame the detox. Okay.
Yeah, I read that
Okay.
part. I
And
go ahead. Yeah.
and that was weird to me, because see, my position has always been like, don't worry about your selenium levels, just get your dang iodine and
Right.
it'll fix your selenium levels. Okay.
Right.
Because your body's already got selenium in it, but it's probably not using it right because you don't have enough iodine. So one way
Right.
to make your thyroid work better is to give it more iodine. But after writing this newsletter, another way to make your thyroid work better is also to have it process the iodine better with the selenium. And also selenium helps with the mercury detox. Now, I primarily detox mercury with silver. Silver is a direct antidote to mercury. Iodine will also detox mercury. So I use iodine and silver to detox mercury, but selenium can also help detox mercury. So if you do, so
Wow.
so anyway, I just wanted to answer the question the naturopathic doctors had was, so in the old days, they were using like the Lugol solution iodine, and everybody, when they would take their iodine, they would get detox reactions because it was the wrong form and dose too high. And so they had
Yeah.
the idea of, okay, how do we negate these detox reactions? My system solved the problem by putting the iodine with silver and gold.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I
So
learned about yours. Yes.
So when you use my system, you don't have to worry about all those detox reactions. But I have to give credit to the field of naturopathic medicine. They were aware of that problem with the old iodine, like, oh my gosh, this is causing too much detox problems. And so they actually invented their own system where they would do selenium and vitamin E and vitamin C before giving the other form of iodine to help slightly negate the
Prepare.
detox
Yeah.
systems. So
Prepare the
now,
body. Yeah.
so so that was their question, is, do they have to do anything different with my system? And the answer to that is, with my system, I've already got the system to where it negates the detox reactions. So it matters less if you do that, but you can still do that if you want. So they give selenium first, and then they give iodine. I give iodine first, and then if you want to play with your selenium levels, you can. So it's a little bit of a difference there. But the
Right.
big thing is, my big finding was, you should not only do selenium and not do iodine. That's going to be bad for you. Okay.
Right. I agree. I
But
agree. And
you can just do iodine without selenium. That's okay. But if you do selenium, you have to do iodine. If you do iodine, you don't have to do selenium. Hope that makes sense.
right. So let's say we're on the iodine, and we've detoxed. This is a hypothetical. And
Okay.
we've detoxed and we're doing good and we got our energy going and we're this and that. But we also then just signed up to do a 5K or something. Would we then maybe take some multivitamins with selenium to prepare us for a 5K compared to our normal days? Or like, would that be something that we could do in case we need another boost of energy? Or like that month, okay, I'm detoxed, I'm living well, I'm doing good, but I know me and my 4 kids and everybody's going on vacation for 2 weeks. I know I'm going to need extra energy. Is that when you would maybe add some more vitamins in?
So vitamins, yes. Selenium, no. So,
Okay, okay, all
uh,
right,
so the vitamins that give you more energy are oxygen and iodine are the
okay,
main ones. And also there's B vitamins I haven't talked about, like vitamin B12 and stuff like that. You feel more energy. Okay.
right,
So definitely I would take my iodine, I would take my multivitamin. And there is selenium in my multivitamin, but it's not
right,
the selenium in the multivitamin giving more energy. Okay.
okay.
It's the iodine,
It's the
oxygen, B
iodine. Well, I was
vitamins.
thinking because
Okay.
if you started taking it, it would recycle it faster.
Yeah.
I was like, how do you recycle it faster?
so
Yeah,
so I hope I answered that question. That's a very good question. Definitely people who take my system and take a good multivitamin to go with it are going to notice. If you just do my system by itself, or if you want to do even better, do my system and a multivitamin, you will have more energy than people who don't. Like that's
Yeah.
guaranteed. Yeah.
Yeah, I will tell you, Ben, my husband's terrified of me. I mean, he wants me to do the detox. He definitely wants me to. He wanted me to start the moment it came. But then it dawned on him the energy that I would have. And he was just like,
I
oh
can't
my
handle
goodness, you already like I can't keep up with you
Oh,
at
no.
all. I don't even know what you're gonna be. And so
Well, let's get
um
him more energy too. He can also use it.
yeah,
Y'all can split that. That is a 6 month supply. If y'all split it, it'll be like a 3 month supply for each of
a
you.
3 months of yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um
Just notice
so
there's a
that's
dosing difference on the iodine for men and women. The men go up to 2 drops, women go up to 4 drops. Women need more iodine than men, double.
I'll remember that out there,
Yeah.
ladies. Yeah, okay. You know, and I do have to say, Ben, this was very valuable to learn about our thyroid. I mean, a ton of women end up having thyroid issues at some point. So to find out even what's going on in there is because they don't explain it. You go to the doctor, and the doctor's like, "Oh, your thyroid's off, so take this." They don't explain anything, you know. And then of course, if we try to Google stuff, well, now we're just reading science, going pH 2, 4, 5, 6. Like we don't know what's going on, you know. So they thank you for at least explaining the necessary means of, especially for us women. Maybe that's also why we need more iodine to start. Yeah. We just got different stuff going on for us. Now, I do want to tell the world that your vitamins are available right now, aren't they? I know your system is available, and guys, go please, um, just please think about it. Well worth your spent money. How much are the vitamins as well?
So my vitamins are secret sauce, only available to iMedu distributors. Okay.
Oh, okay.
And but you are, I made you an iMedu distributor.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
people can get my vitamins through you.
Okay,
I don't actually sell them publicly, uh,
okay, gotcha.
but I do give them to my distributors because
Got
these
it.
are like elite multivitamins. And the
Yes.
deal is, yeah, they're like they retail for about 75. As a distributor, you can
Okay.
get them for about 25% off.
Right.
Okay. But I expensive or not is always relative, but it's
I
expensive
know.
compared to the crap on the market
Right.
because these are like the real multivitamin.
Right. Exactly. I get that. No, I get that. And that's why,
And
well, I don't even really take multivitamins anymore because exactly what I read that why they purposely, it's
yeah.
as if they purposely put different vitamins in there that will contradict each other or counteract, like block each other from actually working. So why you keep taking more? You know, so
And I want to
it's
explain where this vitamin came from and why it's different. Okay. This isn't actually my multivitamin, although it is now because I've decided to endorse it and do it.
right.
Okay. This vitamin was designed by a internal medicine doctor named Dr. Kalen Pop. Okay.
Okay.
He is the same guy who basically is an expert on the colloidal silver and gold, who convinced me that colloidal silver and gold are safe to use, which went
Right.
into my decision to use the colloidal silver and gold as part of the iMedu system. So
Right.
the guy who invented these multivitamins isn't some nobody. Like he's already somebody that I trust because he steered me
Right.
in the right direction with
Right.
because and I don't know if we want to get in that, but basically otherwise originally my system was just going to be iodine and silver. And
Mm,
Dr. Pop has a book called about silver and gold. And I was
okay.
like, what's up with the gold? Then I did research on it, make sure it was safe. And then I ended up also putting that into my system with the iodine, silver, gold together because it works even better. So
Yeah.
Dr. Pop doesn't know much about iodine, but he knows a lot about silver and gold. And he knows a lot about other like more mainstream topics with the B vitamins and diabetes and all this
Mm,
other stuff. And he designed this vitamin, and he designed it for, it's a special one that he designed for people with, a lot of people have genetic problems that their bodies don't use nutrients as good as they should. And so this has a lot higher dose of a lot of things. Like this has like a ridiculously high amount of vitamin B12 in it, like 14,000% or something. But it's because like it's not that bioavailable in your body, and some people have genetic problems where they can't use it. So this is a special vitamin that was designed for that anyone can use it, but even people with genetic problems will still benefit from it because it has the right form of things in a high enough dose that their body will still get it. And so that's why it goes really good with my system. But I'm telling you, like, you need to do my system first. And because the number one nutrient, the control point where they're just crushing everybody, I'm telling you, is at right here at the neck. It's just like Star Wars, Darth Vader force choking everyone. Okay.
Yeah.
Therefore, they got us all by the neck. And there's a control point where when people don't get enough iodine, all the systems in their body shut down. So when you do my system, you start getting your iodine and you detox, all your systems will start working better. And then all the food that you're eating and all the multivitamins you're taking, all the nutrients that your body is getting in will start working better. So a lot of times when people have mineral balances that are off and they're spending all their money on tests and all their minerals are out of whack, if you just get the iodine first, it usually fixes that, and then check them again. And like, oh, look, hey, all my calcium and magnesium and everything went back into balance. Like, how did that happen? You know?
Yeah, I am so excited to do your system, the iMedu system, guys. The link is below for his Facebook page, for his newsletters, for Dr. Ben's, all of it. You can free consultation to just talk to Ben more about maybe personal stuff that's going on with you and your body. And remember, we all learned so much today that I'm because like I said, I mean, a whole lot of my takeaway, Ben, is about the breath. That was fascinating. That just every cell has like a lung to it. That's amazing. The energy, the energy aspect of all of it. There's a lot for me to sit with because because of course for my end it's science magic. It's bringing the science and the spiritual together, and how amazing this all is coming into play, and uh, fascinating. And I know you do the same. I know you sit and meditate with this stuff. I know you sit and allow the spiritual aspect to come in, and that's why I trust you. I trust you, and I believe in your product wholeheartedly. I mean, I have received nothing but great reviews from you and your product. And then, of course, now I'm going to be able to try it and go, okay, Cure World. This is, remember, guys, I've tried everything. I mean, I've tried everything to the point that I still have stuff sitting in my like cupboard that it's like, oh, who can I give this to? From years ago, because it didn't do anything. I am pretty positive, man, once I start doing Ben's iMedu system, the iodine, the silver and gold, and Ben, I'm curious, and I will wait with anticipation for your December newsletter. Because when you started saying silver and gold, my little Christmas tune in my head was like silver and gold. Silver. I went, Christmas, silver and gold. My goodness, I wonder what he's gonna write about. Um, because that's when we get to know. And I also have to say, isn't that fascinating that that's what you, once again, I think in the last video, I brought it up. That's what you would bring a king. You would bring a king silver and gold, any king. Didn't matter who you were going to go see. And it's fascinating because maybe it wasn't just like a glass of silver. Maybe it was literally maybe elements to keep that king purified. And oh Ben, I guess we're gonna have to get together, guys. We will most likely see Ben again then, probably around the beginning of January, to talk about the December newsletter. So first, read the newsletters, and then we'll do a follow-up here, because I know that's how I need to do it, because I'll read his newsletters and I'll be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And then we get to talk to him. So that's the blessing here, folks. Ben, is there anything last that you want to say, my dear?
I just want to give you some teasers for next month's newsletter. So yeah, so for meditation for next month's newsletter, meditate on Santa Claus. Okay.
Oh.
And meditate on Norse mythology a little bit.
Ooh.
How much you know about like Norse mythology stuff? Meditate on that stuff. Okay.
Ooh, this is gonna be fun.
And have you ever heard of the Helm of Athena?
I
Are
have.
you into Greek mythology?
I actually I'm okay with Greek. I am more into like Norse or
You
Celtic,
are, okay. Have you
and
heard
yeah,
of the Aegis Jalmer?
yes,
You
yeah.
have.
Where are you
Okay.
going with this newsletter?
Meditate on the age. I'm just gonna tell you. I'm gonna be Santa Claus, and I'm gonna give you a gift of a very special helmet for next newsletter. Okay.
I will be waiting. I've been a good girl too, so I deserve it. I'm on the nice list. Ladies and gentlemen, and that's the point, guys. Read these newsletters because Dr. Ben Goins with I Medu Foundation, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, beautiful stars, he's a doctor who also throws in all the spirituality. He hasn't denied that science and magic go together, that is alchemy, and that is spirit, period. That is what we do here. So I love it. I love it, Ben. So I'm now excited about the December newsletter. Oh my goodness, that's gonna be wild. And then we get to talk about it. Yay. So, well, Ben, thank you for coming. And ladies and gentlemen, beautiful stars out there, you wonderful beings. Check all the links below. Follow Ben at least on Facebook because he'll post when that news article comes out. And they are always enjoyable reads. You get to learn more about the iodine, more about the silver, more about the gold, along with stuff that's going to blow your mind, just point blank. So thank you, Ben, for all the work that you do. Thank you for your heart and compassion and all of your service to mankind, because I know that that's what you're doing.
And
You're
I want to thank you as well for your stars of the morning. Just so that people know, I Medu is now a patron of Stars of the Morning
yes,
on Patreon, and we fully support what you're doing. And I can't wait to get my Akashic readings in a bit
yeah,
too. So I'm really
yes,
excited.
yeah, that's
So
gonna be fun. Yeah, definitely. And guys, if anyone's interested in the vitamins, I am now a distributor. So call me, email me, what have you, ring my bell. So we will meet again soon, ladies and gentlemen. Have a lovely night, stars. Shine bright.